Most women are taught to seduce with the surface, the glance, the tone, the curve. But there exists a rarer kind of woman, one whose magnetism is not of flesh, but of spirit. She does not lure. She awakens. She does not chase. She calls forth the hidden hunger that already sleeps inside a man's soul. This is the Sacred Seductress, the woman who teaches through desire itself. To the untrained eye, she appears dangerous, even forbidden. She is the mirror every man fears and every woman secretly wishes to find within herself. For her power does not lie in manipulation, but in reflection. Around her, people begin to see the truth of their own longing. She is the anima incarnate, the eternal feminine that Carl Jung described, the muse, the chaos, the ache that leads the masculine toward consciousness. When she enters a room, she does not need to speak. Her silence is magnetic. Her presence alone dismantles the illusion of control that men hide behind. She is not here to flatter their egos, but to expose them, to strip them of their false certainties until all that remains is raw, trembling authenticity. And that is why she terrifies them, because what she awakens cannot be controlled. For Jung, desire was never merely physical, it was symbolic. The Sacred Seductress does not arouse lust. She awakens the soul's hunger for wholeness. Through her, a man confronts his own inner feminine, the emotional depths he has long suppressed. She is the embodiment of what he has denied: intuition, surrender, emotion, chaos. To love her is to be undone. To resist her is to remain half alive. You see, her allure is not born from beauty alone. It is born from self-possession. She does not seek to be desired. She is the desire. Her energy flows inward, not outward. The more she turns toward herself, the more the world bends in her direction. Men sense it. That rare gravity of a woman who no longer performs, who no longer trades her softness for approval. She becomes both sanctuary and storm, teaching without words that attraction is not about taking, but remembering. She has met her own shadow and danced with it. She has held her rage, her grief, her shame, until they became wisdom. And from that alchemy, she has learned that true seduction begins not with the other, but within. The way she touches a glass, the way she breathes between words. These are not gestures meant to ensnare, but byproducts of a consciousness fully embodied. Her sensuality is sacred because it is unforced. It is the flower that blooms without needing to be seen. Many men will mistake her. Some will call her cold because she will not chase them. Others will call her witch because she sees through them. Yet the truth is simpler. She merely reflects what they project. The weak will flee. The strong will awaken. She holds no resentment, for she understands that every rejection, every accusation, is only fear in disguise, the fear of being truly known. When a man stands before her, he faces not her body, but his own unconscious. He is drawn in, not by her perfume or her smile, but by the possibility of meeting himself through her. She becomes his teacher, though she never claims to be one. Through the intensity of his desire, his own illusions begin to unravel. She becomes the test. Will he reduce her to fantasy, or will he rise to meet her in truth? For the Sacred Seductress is not interested in conquest. She is interested in transformation. She invites only those who can see, beyond pleasure into the realm of meaning. Every glance, every silence becomes a lesson in awareness. Her presence is a crucible where false masculinity dissolves. In her orbit, performance dies and authenticity is born. You may wonder, what makes her so powerful? It is not mystery for mystery's sake. It is her intimacy with her own depths. She knows her desires and does not apologize for them. She knows her wounds and does not hide them. She has seen herself in her darkest hour and chosen to remain open. That is what makes her irresistible. Not because she is flawless, but but because she is whole. And so she teaches, not by lecturing, but by being. She shows that love without consciousness is attachment, that pleasure without presence is emptiness, and that seduction without soul is manipulation. The men who meet her will never forget her, not because she bewitched them, but because she forced them to meet the part of themselves they were running from. In the ancient world, such women were priestesses, guardians of the threshold between the sacred and the profane. Today, she walks among us, disguised as the woman who will not be possessed, who loves deeply but releases easily, who embodies both passion and peace. To encounter her is to remember that desire is not sin, but initiation, a passage back into the fullness of being alive. She moves through the world like a quiet storm, not to destroy, but to awaken. Wherever she goes, something shifts. Men feel it first in the pit of their stomachs, that strange unease between fascination and fear. Women feel it as both inspiration and discomfort, sensing in her a reflection of their own forgotten potential. For she does not live by society's script of feminine obedience. She has burned it, and from the ashes, written her own. The Sacred Seductress does not beg for understanding. She embodies it. She no longer asks, "Will they love me?" She asks, "Do I love myself enough to remain true?" And in that quiet question, her sovereignty is reborn. She has learned what many never will, that to be truly magnetic, a woman must be willing to lose everything that was built on pretending. Men approach her expecting the familiar dance, flirtation, validation, the exchange of masks. But she does not dance for applause. Her attention is not a commodity, it is a mirror. When she looks at a man, she sees not who he pretends to be, but who he could be if he stopped hiding behind his armor. That look alone is enough to terrify him, because it pierces the illusions that keep him safe, and yet it is precisely that gaze that heals him. Jung wrote that man's greatest task is to integrate the anima, the feminine, within his psyche. When he meets her, he faces the living embodiment of that inner presence. She is not the lover he can possess. She is the mirror through which he meets his own soul. That is why his desire for her feels different. It burns, yes, but beneath the fire lies revelation. You can feel it, can't you? That moment when someone looks at you and sees you, not as the world has labeled you, but as the universe once dreamed you to be. That's her power. She doesn't seduce your body. She seduces your remembrance. She calls forth the ancient memory of wholeness, the time before you fragmented yourself to survive. She does not give her energy freely. Her boundaries are not walls, but temples, thresholds that must be entered with reverence. Those who come to take are turned away not by force, but by their own inability to meet her depth. To stand before her requires presence, patience, and purpose, for she is not interested in games. She is interested in the sacred meeting, the point where soul recognizes soul. There is something profoundly stoic in her nature. Like Marcus Aurelius, she understands that mastery is not control over others, but over oneself. She no longer reacts to flattery or fear. She observes desire as energy, neutral until given meaning. And when she feels the pull of attraction, she does not lose herself in it. She studies it. She asks, "What does this feeling reveal about me? What part of me is seeking to be seen through this?" Her life is a continual act of inner alchemy. What once made her desperate now makes her divine. The wounds that used to define her now serve as conduits of empathy. Where she once sought to prove her worth through others, she now radiates it effortlessly. And this shift from seeking to being is what transforms her from woman to archetype. The Sacred Seductress does not pursue men. She evokes them. Her stillness is invitation enough. It is said that when a man of depth meets such a woman, he either ascends or retreats. There is no middle ground, for she does not entertain half-heartedness. She would rather stand alone in truth than lie beside someone who fears it. There is poetry in her detachment. It is not coldness, but clarity. She has tasted the chaos of emotional dependence and has found peace in sovereignty. Like a river that no longer fights its own current, she flows. And in that flow, she becomes untouchable. Not because she cannot be reached, but because she cannot be owned. Every interaction with her feels like a test. Not a test of worthiness, but of readiness. Are you ready to see yourself through her? Are you ready to dissolve the illusions that keep you small? For she will not lower her frequency to meet you. She will silently invite you to rise. Some call her dangerous, because she does not conform to comfort. Yet her danger lies only in the truths she reveals. She teaches through contrast, through the ache of wanting what cannot be controlled, through the beauty of desiring without possession. She is both muse and mirror, storm and sanctuary. She has learned that to be desired is ordinary, but to be understood is sacred. And so she moves through the world as a lesson, not a promise. She knows that the men who cannot handle her power are not enemies. They are students who have not yet graduated from illusion. The Sacred Seductress does not chase validation. She transcends it. Her existence alone is rebellion against the collective wound that taught women to make themselves smaller to be loved. She has reclaimed her right to be seen, not as an object, but as an oracle. There is a certain stillness in her, the kind that unnerves those who mistake silence for weakness. Yet in that stillness lives an ancient wisdom, the knowledge that what is truly hers cannot pass her by. The Sacred Seductress no longer hurries toward destiny. She allows destiny to recognize her. Her calm is magnetic, her restraint intoxicating. Because she no longer grasps, she receives. Because she no longer performs, she radiates. Her presence is paradox, soft yet unyielding, nurturing yet dangerous. She does not hide her hunger for connection, but neither does she let it consume her. In Jungian terms, she has transcended the polarity of the maiden and the temptress. She has become the bridge between them. Her sensuality is not rebellion against purity. It is purity, redefined. It is the raw honesty of being human, the sacred acknowledgement that desire itself can be divine when met with awareness. Men who encounter her rarely forget. Something in them stirs long after she's gone, a haunting awareness of how shallow their previous pursuits have been. They begin to crave depth, truth, the kind of intimacy that demands self-confrontation. This is her gift. She teaches through absence as much as through presence. Even silence becomes instruction. When she withdraws, it is not punishment, it is initiation. The man who loses her must face the question he has avoided all his life. What within me made me unready for her? She is not cruel. Cruelty belongs to those who manipulate, and she has no need to. She knows that what she evokes is enough. Like a flame, she draws in what is ready to burn. The rest turn away, blinded by the light. Her power, therefore, is not dominance. It is reflection. She reflects a man's potential as clearly as she reflects his limitations. To some, that is unbearable. To others, it is awakening. You may wonder, where does such power come from? It comes from descent, from the dark nights where she was stripped of illusion. She has walked through heartbreak not as a victim, but as an alchemist. She has turned abandonment into discernment, rejection into redirection, pain into purpose. That is why her energy feels different. It carries the calm of one who has already been broken open and has nothing left to prove. And yet, she is not untouchable. Beneath her strength lies tenderness, not the fragile kind that begs to be protected, but the kind that chooses vulnerability despite the risk. She knows that walls keep out both harm and intimacy, and she would rather be cut by truth than comforted by illusion. This is what separates her from those who merely play at power. Her strength is not an armor. It is an open wound that has learned how to breathe. In her relationships, she no longer seeks completion. She seeks resonance. She understands that love is not about possession, but recognition. When she loves fiercely, but without fear. She no longer confuses attachment with devotion. Her love is free, and that freedom is precisely what makes it irresistible. Men sense this freedom and are drawn to it like moths to flame. Yet most are not ready for what they find. They want the intensity, without the mirror, the ecstasy without the exposure. But she offers both, because she knows they cannot be separated. Desire, to her, is sacred only when it leads to awareness. Anything less is consumption. At times, she is misunderstood, labeled as too much, too intense, too independent. But these labels come from those who have never met a woman who belongs to herself. They cannot fathom that her independence is not rebellion against love, but reverence for it. She knows that love loses its sanctity when it becomes dependency. She is, in truth, a walking paradox of Eastern surrender and Western self-mastery. Like Epictetus, she practices inner freedom. Like Lao Tzu, she flows without force. Her philosophy is simple: control nothing, embody everything. And so her life becomes a meditation on presence. She no longer asks, "Who will choose me?" but "What am I choosing with my energy, my time, my touch?" Every gesture of hers carries intention. The way she walks into a room, the way she withdraws when she senses chaos, all of it speaks to a quiet command over her energy. She knows that attraction is frequency, not effort. When her frequency is clear, it naturally filters out those who vibrate in fear. She does not need to prove her worth, because she has already met the part of herself that tried to earn it. She has held that younger self, the one who overgave, over-apologized, overloved, and whispered, "You are enough," even when no one stays. That act of self-compassion was her initiation into true power, and now everything she does emanates from that inner reconciliation. Her seduction is not a strategy, it is a consequence of integration. She embodies both the shadow and the light, both chaos and grace. To be near her is to feel the pull of wholeness, the reminder that to be fully alive, one must be willing to embrace both the sinner and the saint within. She has long since realized that seduction, in its highest form, is not about drawing others in. It is about revealing truth through desire. The Sacred Seductress is not the siren who calls men to their doom. She is the mirror that calls them to awakening. Her beauty does not enslave, it liberates. Though liberation often feels like loss to those still clinging to illusion. To the unaware man, she seems unattainable, perhaps even cruel. To the man in the process of awakening, she is a revelation, a living symbol of his own potential. For Jung, this is the great paradox of the anima. She both enchants and destroys, for she exposes the fragile scaffolding of identity upon which the masculine ego is built. Every man who truly sees her is forced to confront the question, "What part of me have I silenced in order to feel powerful?" You can recognize her by the way she listens. She does not fill silence with words or nervous laughter. She lets it stretch, allowing the other to reveal themselves within it. Her stillness disarms, her gaze unsettles, not because she seeks control, but because she offers no escape. Around her, the masks slip effortlessly, and what remains is the raw, trembling truth of one's own heart. To stand in her presence is to feel the weight of authenticity. There are no games, no performances, no pretense. She exists in a frequency that demands honesty. And yet, she does not demand it through force, she evokes it through presence. The energy she carries reminds others that truth, no matter how terrifying, is infinitely more erotic than deceit. This is the true essence of her power. She redefines desire as revelation. For too long, the world has taught that seduction is deceit, a trick, a manipulation. But the Sacred Seductress has transcended that primitive understanding. Her seduction is sacred precisely because it is transparent. She does not manipulate energy, she channels it. She does not promise love, she reveals where love was always waiting to be seen. And because she has met her own darkness, she no longer fears the darkness in others. She will look into the wounded, broken, terrified parts of you and not flinch. She will see your anger, your shame, your confusion, and meet them with calm awareness, not because she wishes to fix you, but because she has already fixed herself. She knows that true intimacy begins where the facade ends. Still, she is not a healer for those unwilling to heal themselves. Her compassion has edges. She does not allow herself to be drained by those who mistake her empathy for endless supply. When the lesson is complete, she withdraws gracefully, not in anger, but in truth. And though those she leaves behind may call her heartless, they will one day realize that her absence was mercy, for she will not enable the sleep of another soul. In her solitude, she does not ache for company. She rests in it like a queen in her throne room. The world confuses loneliness with power because few have ever tasted sovereignty. Yet her solitude is fertile. It is where she recharges, reclaims, and realigns. She knows that her energy is sacred currency, and only those who honor it may share it. To the feminine collective, she is both inspiration and disruption. She represents what women once were before they were taught to fear their own allure. She reminds them that seduction and spirituality are not opposites, but twin forces of the same divine current, both expressions of life's desire to know itself. And so, she becomes a catalyst for other women to remember their forgotten magic. She carries within her the wisdom of Aphrodite and the discipline of Artemis, the softness of water and the precision of a blade. Her essence cannot be contained in a single archetype, for she is the fusion of them all. Lover, mother, warrior, sage, Jung would say she has integrated her inner masculine, the logos, the structure, while still embodying her feminine flow, the eros. That balance is what makes her luminous. You may think you've met such women. Magnetic, confident, alluring. But few truly embody the sacred dimension of this archetype. Most mimic her form without her depth, her gestures without her consciousness. The Sacred Seductress does not pretend. She is. Her power cannot be imitated because it does not come from technique. It comes from transcendence. And yet, her path is not easy. The world misreads her. Some men worship her, others demonize her. Some women envy her, others misunderstand her. But she continues, knowing that misunderstanding is the price of mastery. Her only allegiance is to truth. And truth, like desire, does not beg to be understood. Her seduction lies not in her body, but in her being. The way she moves through life, slow, deliberate, aware, reminds others of what it means to be alive. She has become the embodiment of Jung's greatest insight, that the meeting of two souls is not a collision of bodies, but an alchemical merging of unconscious and conscious, shadow and light, teacher and student. And when she loves, she does so with the awareness that every touch, every glance, every breath exchanged between two souls is an opportunity to evolve. For her, love is not escape, it is discipline, not distraction, but devotion. She knows that desire, when met with awareness, becomes prayer. She walks the edge between the sacred and the profane with ease, unashamed of either. To her, they are not enemies but reflections of the same truth, that divinity is not found in denial, but in integration. The Sacred Seductress has learned that to repress desire is to repress life itself, and to indulge it without awareness is to lose oneself to chaos. So she walks the middle path, embodied yet transcendent, grounded yet ethereal. Her energy disturbs those who still equate goodness with self-denial, for she does not apologize for her pleasure, her ambition, or her presence. She understands what the mystics always knew, that the body is not the enemy of the soul, but its instrument. Through the senses, the divine experiences itself. Through the pulse of attraction, consciousness awakens to its own longing. She is that living pulse, the reminder that to feel deeply is not weakness, but wisdom. When a man truly meets her, he begins to sense that she is not there to fulfill his fantasies, but to dismantle them. She does not cater to his image of the perfect woman. She breaks it. For in her presence, projection cannot survive. Jung wrote that the anima demands integration. She forces man to see the parts of himself he has exiled. And that is what she does, gently yet unrelentingly. Through her, he comes face to face with his own sensitivity, vulnerability, fear, and potential for devotion. She invites him to rise, not to chase. Her stillness challenges him more than seduction ever could. She teaches him that love is not conquest, but capacity, the capacity to witness another without possession, to desire without demand. He learns, often painfully, that he cannot own what he does not understand, and she will not let herself be understood by those who approach her through ego. If you ever find yourself drawn to such a woman, know this: she is not your reward, she is your reflection. The intensity you feel around her is not magic. It is your own depth calling to you. What you adore in her already lives within you, dormant and waiting to be awakened. She is not here to complete you, but to show you what completion requires: the death of pretense. She lives, her life as art. Every decision, every boundary, every silence, a brush stroke of self-mastery. She has learned the elegance of saying no without guilt, of walking away without explanation. She does not seek closure because her peace is not dependent on others' understanding. Her closure is internal, found in the simple act of remaining true to herself. There was a time, long ago, when she confused her power for danger, when she thought that her sensuality needed to be tamed, her intuition hidden, her softness rationed. But experience burned those illusions away. Pain became her teacher, and now she no longer hides from her light. She wears it openly, knowing that those who cannot face it are simply not ready to see. Her evolution is both psychological and spiritual. She embodies what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. In her, the fragmented parts of the psyche have found harmony. The wild woman and the wise woman, the lover and the mystic, coexist without conflict. This integration radiates through her presence, and people feel it without knowing why. Around her, they sense that life could be lived differently, with more authenticity, more reverence, more depth. She teaches without speaking. Her life itself becomes the message. When she chooses solitude, she demonstrates that love without self-respect is bondage. When she forgives, she shows that strength and softness can coexist. When she leaves, she proves that endings are not failures, but thresholds. Every action becomes an initiation, every heartbreak a sacrament. And though many desire her, few can stay, not because she is distant, but because she demands wholeness. She has no patience for half-present souls. To be with her is to walk naked in truth. No masks, no pretense, no hiding behind intellect or charm. She does not want perfection. She wants presence. And in a world addicted to distraction, that kind of attention feels almost unbearable. Still, she waits. Not in longing, but in knowing. For she understands that true union cannot be forced. It happens only when two beings have done the inner work to meet without agenda. Until then, she continues to cultivate her own light, tending to it like a sacred flame that guides her path. Her existence is proof that spirituality need not be ascetic, that empowerment need not be aggression, that sensuality need not be shameful. She embodies the paradox that the divine feminine has always carried, that softness can move mountains, that stillness can transform men, that surrender can be the ultimate strength. And perhaps that is her greatest teaching, that seduction, at its core, is not about making others fall in love with you. It is about falling so deeply in love with your own truth that the world cannot help but respond. Her magnetism is the byproduct of self-knowledge, the inevitable glow of a soul that has remembered its own divinity. The Sacred Seductress does not chase, does not plead, does not prove, she simply is. And in that being, she reminds every soul she meets that they, too, were once whole, and can be again. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.